Hey, welcome back to another edition of Capacity Overload, where we are talking to nonprofit leaders across the state of Indiana about their mission and the wonderful work that they do. And then Jason Padgett, the Director of Partnerships and Growth for Citizen AI, and our COO, who's about to introduce himself, try to offer some suggestions on how technology and artificial intelligence might help to alleviate some of their struggles. So that's who I am. That's who the show is. I'll pass it to Oliver, and then we'll introduce our guest.
Hey folks, Oliver Belanger, COO and co-founder of Citizen AI. Uh, as always, Jason, super excited to be here and to chat with Bess. Um, Citizen AI is a purpose-driven AI system that helps connecting people in need with resources and programs that can help them. We work with nonprofits, healthcare organizations to provide them support with wraparound navigation, as well as social determinants of health navigation.
Yes, and Bess Witcosky, Joyful Journey, maker of local celebs. Introduce yourself and tell us about what you all do and the events you have coming up.
It's quite the introduction. Thanks for having me, gentlemen. I am the executive director of Joyful Journey Adult Day in West Lafayette, Indiana. We provide daytime services to mostly older adults that are experiencing some type of life changing event. Folks often wonder, like, well, but when is the right time? When should I call Joyful Journey? What does it mean to have a life changing event? It means different things to different people. So it could be that your loved one is no longer able to drive, so their social outlet suddenly becomes very small. They're really dependent on someone else to take them where they need to go. It could be a diagnosis, a new diagnosis, or an ongoing um, change in mobility or cognition. We see a number of folks that have some type of cognitive decline, a variety of dementias. Alzheimer's is very common, but there are a number of other types of dementia that I feel are on the rise. So more early onset, things like that. We also see folks that have Parkinson's or are recovering from stroke or cancer treatment. And sometimes we're just seeing people that, they just want to continue to engage and make friendships in life. So we provide a variety of activities every day that are touching on health and wellness, kind of packaged in fun. It's sort of like if you talk to parents that are like sneaking spinach into their kids' cookies, like we want to make sure that people are really, living their life, having a great quality of life, even when life is throwing them some curveballs. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We're providing that engaging day for a friend. We don't have patients or clients, we have friends, as well as respite to the caregiver. So,
That is awesome. And you have an annual fundraiser that, like I said, makes celebrities. I think the last time I attended, Nate Metz from Phoenix Paramedic Solutions was playing
yes.
some softball. Mayor Worski from Lafayette was playing some softball. You call it a local celebrity softball event, and tell us about that because it's a really fun event.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about some barriers that we experience in our field. One of those barriers is awareness. I say a new caregiver is born every day. So there's going to be, even this morning, someone that wakes up that is caring for someone else and they're like, wow, I need help. I can't keep doing this by myself. So we looked at our resources and what we like to do at Joyful Journey, which is have fun, and said, how can we make something for the community that feels very joyful, um, spreads awareness, maybe raises some money, right? It might be a fundraiser, and I had this wild idea. I'm like, let's do a celebrity softball game. So we are the originators of the Joyful Journey Classic celebrity softball game. Folks oftentimes don't know they are a celebrity until I come knocking on their door, and I'm like, guess what? You're a celebrity now. You're going to be a star, kid. Um, so we hosted at Loeb Stadium, which is right in Lafayette. It's fabulous. The event is August 23rd. I should probably get that out there. The gate opens at noon. And then we roll into the first chunk of the event, which is a home run derby. We set up if you've been to a large baseball stadium before, that fence is really far away. So for the home run derby and also for our celebrities, we put up a temporary fence so that folks actually have a chance of hitting the ball over that fence during the derby. Anyone can register to participate in that. If you're under the age of 18, we need parents' permission. It's $25 to enter, and you can win up to $200. So if you make it to the end, there's a couple rounds. So that is very exciting.
Can I
We weren't
interrupt 1
exactly
second?
sure.
I have to
Yeah,
ask a question. Has anyone ever actually knocked it out of the park when you guys were doing that?
no one has knocked it out of the park
Okay.
because we're using softballs. So I
Oh,
think it's
that would be difficult.
I'm waiting. Somebody's gonna do it at some point. But yeah, it's a softball home run derby.
Okay, fair enough.
Um,
Sorry to interrupt. So you got the home run derby first, and then you move on to the actual little tourney, right?
Yeah. So then we, around 2:30, we have our opening ceremony. There's always, a fabulous singer that's doing the national anthem. And then we have around 40 celebrities. We split them into two teams, and it's kind of like T-ball rules. So each celebrity plays 2 innings, and it's a 4 inning game. We do pitch. They don't actually hit off a tee, but everyone hits. Everyone's a winner. Well, they're not everyone's a winner. Joyful Journey is a winner. The winning team can win the golden softball trophy. So yes, there is a trophy involved, and there's a lot of antics. I feel like, we don't have the Savannah Bananas. We have Lafayette's amazing celebridati or whatever that is.
Yeah, and the aviator guy does the aviator, I can't remember his name. Does he and the mascot, does he usually show up for that?
Ace has not shown
Ace.
up yet. Yeah. He's wanted to come in years past, and it just hasn't worked out for his schedule. So it's really it's a joyful journey run event, which is why it's important that you come out August 23rd, because we are essentially renting the stadium and then we're filling it with all of our people. We have Big League providing concessions and beer and wine service. So it's on a Sunday, but you can have a little adult beverage while you're watching the game. We provide concessions. We have a great silent auction, a raffle, and then there will be, so this is our 5th year, there will be some surprises during the game. So you just have to show up and see what those are going to be.
And I can attest it is a great time. So I was working for Phoenix when Nate played, and I had his wife Jess and I and a few of his friends sat, and we had a great time. I have to ask another celebrity, like local question: has Sheila Clinker ever played?
That is a really good question. Sheila has not played, but she does attend and is a great cheerleader for all of our celebrities. Yeah, we love Sheila.
I love
But
it. For anybody who doesn't have background, Sheila is a representative from Lafayette who has been a representative for I don't have no idea, probably 2 decades, but she is well into her older age, but is everywhere. Like everyone claims there must be clones of her because there's never an event I go to that Sheila Clinker's not at. So Yeah, I do remember seeing her there, but she's never played. Now, Bess Witcosky did play. Or who's playing this year?
Yeah, a couple of our celebrities. Folks might know Chad Evans. He has been the weatherman in our area for a number of years. He is just a local treasure. So he'll be playing. We'll have Derek Jones, who is the executive director of Pride Lafayette. Little known fact, Van Stokes will be playing. He is actually a Hollywood stuntman.
Oh,
So, and he's from Lafayette. He's played every year. I've known Van for many years. He is just a beautiful human being. And I'm always like, okay, so what are you working on now, Van? And he'll be like, don't tell anybody, but X, Y, and Z movies. But he's been in Wakanda Forever. He was in the Bad Boys reboot recently. So I mean, he's doing it. Tyler Perry stuff. Um, yeah, so he'll be playing. He's really fun. He may or may not do a backflip at some point while he's either pitching or running down the bases. He is super athletic. Um, we have, let's see, Ebony Barrett from Ebony and the Ruckus.
yeah.
So musicians, we have restaurant owners, Brad Cohen from Arnie's, which Arnie's is a local staple. Meet you at Arnie's. I feel like getting a mushroom pizza right now. That's my go-to. TV personalities. So we'll have somebody from WLFI, Julie from Q1067. We really get a cross section from all points of the community. Some nonprofit leaders, Mara with the West Lafayette Public Library. Very excited. The Lafayette Aviators got a new general manager last year, Danny Shingleton, and he's going to play this year. So we're excited to get Danny on the field. He's just been a great point of contact in the community. So yeah, that's just a few folks. Um,
What a blast. And for those out there who don't know, here's a Lafayette fun fact. Bill Bailey graduated from Lafayette Jeff High School and later became known as Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses. He is a Lafayette native. Now, if you reach out to him and ask him to play, don't be surprised if you don't hear from him. When I was doing a lot of nonprofit stuff and down in the Bloomington area, I reached out to Mellencamp more than once and never heard from his people. But I guess I
yes.
guess some men are still grounded enough to care about their communities and come out for things like that. I think that is so cool. We'll make sure all the links to that are in the show notes so that people have a link to go and register and check that out. Um, what questions do you have for her so far, Oliver?
Um, I'm just absorbing all the inside baseball. Uh, I mean, that's a really, really, really cool event. I imagine that people, uh, your local celebrities, get really excited when they get their golden ticket uh, every year.
Well,
It
Oliver, so let's just say in our fifth year, I am no longer begging people and reassuring them it's going to be okay. Like, those first 2 years, some people were like, yeah, absolutely. And some people were like, wow, I've never played softball in my life. And I'm like, perfect, we need you. They're like, oh, okay. Like, just throw on some shoes and make sure you have a mitt and just go out in the outfield.
That's great. I think one thing that's really interesting here is how much that event kind of um, highlights what seems to be a core value for what y'all do, which is really integrating joy into every aspect of your operations and your programs. I mean, if you think about the analogy you shared of putting spinach in cookies for children, well, for nonprofits, fundraising is in many ways the spinach, and you're putting it in this packaging that is filled with joy and fun and a good time, and unique. Um, and so I would love to kind of hear some other places, maybe places that don't get as much attention usually, where you're integrating joy into the operations or the program or the packaging uh, that has, a really big impact.
Yeah, great point. So kind of going back to our mission, right? The classic is essentially our community visibility so that people understand where we're coming from. We talk a lot about our mission at the game, how to become a friend, what does a friend look like? Because people really have some different pictures in their mind of what it looks like to get older and go to a place. So when you come to Joyful Journey, the outside of our building looks like a house. Our co-founders wanted to make sure it would be a place that like their mom would want to go to. And that's really why they built Joyful Journey. Kathy and Kathy's mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and Kathy knew her mom wouldn't want to go to a facility. She would want to go to a house where she could meet friends. So the outside looks like a house. The inside of the building feels like a warm and welcoming house. We really pride ourselves on uh, the idea of feeling special, right? Everything that we touch, everything that we place is intentional and is really thought out to make people feel supported, confident, and special. So very clean, very comfortable, and high quality. And that is even from the moment you open the door, we're waiting there expecting you and saying, "Oh, great, come on in." That's the first thing every single day. Every person that comes through the door is going to be greeted and feel like we've been waiting for them because we have. We are actually living that moment, and we are waiting for them. So there's that, just really recognizing each person's uniqueness and value, right? These friends that we have valuable histories and things to share with us, and we're ready. We're like a sponge to just absorb it. So making sure they know that we want them there and are waiting for them. We run about 8 or 9 activities every day. Each of those activities are based on who's attending. So folks, if you're interested in coming, we do have an enrollment process. You can just give us a call. It's very uh, fairly simple to get started. You can just give us a call. And then once you're enrolled and we kind of have your schedule squared away, which people can come for one day, they can come for a half day, they can come 5 days a week. We kind of tailor it to what their needs are. Once we know their kind of regularly scheduled routine, then our activities start to change depending on who's attending that day. So in healthcare, which you gentlemen probably know, folks like to talk about person-centered care. Um, we are really following through on that and making sure that as folks' interests, abilities, needs, histories, likes, dislikes, as those change, because we're ever evolving, with our different friends, that we're matching what we're offering to them, right? And if you've known someone with dementia or Alzheimer's, they're not living in our world. We're going to where they're at, wherever that may be, and we do that every day.
It sounds like your a key aspect is providing person-centered joy for their time when they're there.
Yep.
That's that's really interesting. I imagine this is such a um, care is not the right word, but maybe person-centered is the right word. It's such an embodied high attention experience, relationship, person to person, um, core offering and program. Where what I'm hearing is the main the primary benefit you're providing to the individual is really a lot of focused attention, care, joy, many things which um, aging adults may lack in their you know usual environment, or maybe not getting as much
Mhm.
as they could, while also providing, of course, like you said, respite for the caregiver. Um, I imagine then that that degree of being present with your friends that drop by has to be taxing on the staff, not in a bad way, but just in a like it's a different level of energy to be committed and present to that degree than it is manning a desk or kind of zoning in and out and all of that. Is
Yeah.
that
I think that's absolutely true. So when we look at we're a staff of 9. We have 4 folks that are full-time, and then the other 5 are part-time, and that's our response to what our team needs in order to stay, healthy themselves, right? The work that we do is very joyful in moments, but we're also we work through some really complicated emotional things with our friends and our caregivers. So I think recognizing that it's not just we have program assistants that provide direct care. So it's not just their job to make sure our friends are having a good day. It's actually all of our responsibilities. So you will see um every person, myself included, stepping in on days where we need a little extra a little extra boost of energy, because of one thing or another, that's going on that day, to make sure that we're all coming out on the other side, feeling good about it.
mhm,
Um, yeah, I mean, there are times where I'll lead an activity, or I'll just, if somebody's having a rough day, sometimes a new face helps perk them up, or they need to talk to somebody, right? They need that one-on-one. They have something they want to say, and so if I'm the person that gets to hear it, that's what I'm there for. Where, how do we all fit into this? So it's very much a team
mhm.
effort.
That makes a lot of sense. And I imagine working with some folks who may be experiencing Alzheimer's or uh, a variety of different cognitive decline oriented um, diseases. Uh, is there special training then, or is there training or something that you offer to your staff members to be? I imagine that's a different modality. To your point, you're visiting their world; they're not visiting yours. How do you equip your staff members to not just be able to be present in there, but to do it in a um, joyful, attentive way, which is yet another step above, I think, than you
Mhm.
may in many other circumstances.
Yeah. Well, any new staff person, whether they're administrative or, in that care activity space, will go through around 2 weeks of training. And that's just to get started.
Mhm,
It's really, we kind of don't expect everyone to be fully up to speed for 6 months to a year.
mhm,
And, that's also the commitment of the team. When we bring someone on, we all understand that we're all teaching them. It's,
mhm,
not just me or my operations director.
mhm,
We're all also still learning.
mhm,
So right now we have a pretty a staff with some great longevity. So how we stay and we do like positive approach to care. We do have a formal
mhm,
kind of certified approach. Teepa Snow is, one of the top people that we take inspiration from.
mhm,
That's her approach, positive approach to care. So we do that. We also have a weekly team meeting with our direct care program assistants. And in that, we're always talking about, okay, so what's going well? Who of our friends, who are we not hitting on all cylinders with? Like, who are we not connecting with right now? Because it changes. You can have, um, 6 months, 8 months with someone and everything's working really well. They like what we're doing, they're engaged, and then things change. So it's during that weekly touch point, as well as, kind of every day. If things are shifting and changing, we're communicating about it and saying, hey, this is what I tried and it worked. Hey, this is what I tried and it didn't work. Why don't you why don't you try something? How about this? So it's just that acceptance as a care provider that we don't know everything at every moment. We don't know everything that they need. And sometimes they can't tell us what they need. So you have to be a good detective. And so it's that commitment to being a detective to find the joy.
that and then eliciting and bringing it out to be shared with with the friend, but I also imagine in many cases the friends who are are around. I imagine then there finding people who will be able to participate in that modality and then remain motivated for longevity in that is looking for um, a very call it more narrow um, uh, f- fit requirement. Like it with that kind of challenge for folks. Um, it sounds like you need people that really, really fit um, your model, fit the organization. I imagine they have to be really fueled by the mission. Most likely there has to be some sort of personal tie-in to them that makes the work um, truly, really rewarding for them for doing the work itself. I imagine that there's not a huge, even within the population of folks who are able and have the skill to provide the care, which is still not a huge number of people. Within that, it seems like you probably need to find the folks who find it almost a calling to be
Mhm.
part of it and look at joining your team and all of that as an opportunity to do that calling and to be actively in touch with that mission. Um, because it just seems the degree of the level of quality of care is that you're describing is so high that it seems to me that the only like mechanism is really finding the right person that can fit that modality. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah. And it's like we can teach the care
Hmm.
techniques and the right using proper mobility practices, things like that. It's really the curiosity that we can't teach. So if someone right, if they're flexible, if they're curious, if they want to learn, that can take you so much farther.
Hmm.
Even if you don't have every single skill we're looking for,
Hmm.
it's that teachability.
Well, let me
Um,
weigh in
and
for just 1 second there too, with a thank you, and hopefully I don't get too emotional here. But my mother died in a nursing home of severe Parkinson's in 2020, and so I mean the difference in staff and how staff made her comfortable in some situations. She was not easy to deal with, but the caregivers really made all the difference in the world to her. So what I hear you saying is talent acquisition and training are some of your challenges. How technical are you guys? How much do you lean into technology, and what other challenges do you face in your daily operations?
yeah. So in general, awareness is a big barrier, right? And then when you get down into more daily operations, I think because we do have a semi-secure building, our care staff and our friends are on one side of the building and we're on the other, and there's oftentimes some locked doors in between there. So communication like during the day is always, we're getting information as friends are getting dropped off. And then we have to make sure that everyone gets the same message in the right amount of time. So, does it go on the whiteboard? We do med reminders. So we're non-medical, but there's a lot of things that we can do. One of those things we can offer medication and do med reminders. So making sure that those are done correctly and charted. That's always a big thing. Um, but if I want to know if somebody has had their medication, I always have to go to the other side of the house because we're doing paper charting.
Hmm.
So I think that has been our challenge is we've tried to use technology to chart, but we haven't found the right program. It's always for long-term care, skilled nursing, or parks and recreation.
Hmm.
So I think people specifically in the adult day sector of healthcare, and I can tell I'm on our state association board for adult days. We are all kind of finding the same barrier, which is the technology is not built for what we do.
Hmm.
The transportation, we don't provide transportation. But I was just in a meeting where two of our centers near Indy, they can't find a great transportation app that helps them, that thinks for them to send their drivers on the right route with the least amount of backtracking. Like they're
Hmm.
still using Google Maps. They're like, oh, we tried this. It's supposed to be good, but it's still like I'm still doing the work.
Hmm.
Okay, I have to make my first recommendation because now I'm chomping at the bit, right? Purdue University is right there. I have worked with many of their classes on projects for nonprofits. What you're talking about as far as, like, tracking medication and all of that, the AI today could easily create a custom dashboard for you, and because you wanna be HIPAA compliant and some of that data is like, it can't just be a janky one, right? That's somebody in your office spun up, but if you partnered with Purdue University with one of their computer science, classes and had them build a custom application for you, you could easily have a dashboard that you all shared on your monitors that would allow you to update that in real time and communicate it that you don't have to buy like pre-built for some other business nowadays.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, I think breaking down that problem, it sounds like what you have is multiple points of entry of information that need to be put together into a single repository or a single place for it all to come together with, like Jason is saying, and so you can spin that up. The thing to keep in mind as you're thinking about that is you would want to and partnering Purdue is a great way to do this. Think about each of the different input points. And so right now you're doing it and you're going through that same design process. You're just thinking about it from an analog perspective. And so the thing to do here would be to enhance the uh, uh, input styles that you're used to with some additional digital mediums. So white writing on a whiteboard is one. There's a variety of different ones on the analog side. On the digital side, a couple different modalities. There is uh, voice transcription and recording, and
Hmm.
this is something that modern AI is really good at. Um, Another one is, of course, typing. Um, But I think the voice transcription can be probably pretty interesting, because the problem with typing is not everyone is as comfortable doing it quickly. I also imagine frequently in your environment, people's hands are full, um, and they're picking things up and putting things down all the time. A whiteboard with a shorthand is really, really quick uh, to go, and you don't need to lean over and look into a computer to do it. So voice might be a really uh, interesting digital comparison or equivalent for a lot of those different moments. Because if you're putting on a whiteboard, it's public information anyway. So speaking out loud or putting on the whiteboard is kind of the same. Um, but with modern tools, you could create pretty easily different points of entry. So if imagine like, you know, instead of the next to the whiteboard, there's a tablet and the tablet has a button and you press the button and then it'll be able to record that point in time the information, and then it'll be able to show it on a screen in the same way that it would the whiteboard, but it would also be able to then be ingested into a central place for all of the information to be aggregated, like that dashboard that Jason is saying, so that then it can be coordinated to go to the right person at the right time. Because it sounds like one of the key issues you're dealing with is also the logistical movement of the information and alerting to be showing up to the appropriate person, place at the right for the right reason. Um, and that's probably something that also you're probably wanting some alerting on so that they're not the person has to remember to go look. It prompts them to receive the information. And so it sounds like that in the same way that you know, the drivers are running into a logistics problem of what's the optimal route for me to take to pick up the folks in the most efficient amount of time possible, and probably fuel efficiency comes into mind as well there. um, in this case, part of the problem you're running into is how do you set up the logistics of the information being moved through to different staff members and to different folks, and I imagine caregivers as well, um, to really streamline your operations, because that double checking, that synchronous or at the same time communication, all those different things are probably sucking up a huge amount of time and, more importantly, distracting your staff members from being able to give their full attention to the friends to your friends.
Yeah, I think that's why we've always reverted back to paper and pen because it's just quick. It's so quick, and we can just do. And that seems to be th- has been the easiest way for us to make sure all the information stays in the right place, is in the private area, and then our program assistants can get back to what they
Okay.
need to be doing, which is right, having those activities and
Mhm.
engagement and socialization. Um, yeah, it seems like when we've tried to do or incorporate one piece of technology, like charting personal care, right? It's clunky the way that we've designed it. And so it ends up taking more time than
Yeah.
just doing the check, 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 initial yes. Is there a no? No. Um,
Well, speaking
yeah.
of the power of transcripts, because
Because
that's
if it
this.
comes down to a time suck where we're not with friends, we say friends come first. So it's like,
Right.
okay, this is not work.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we can do is take the transcript from this podcast and kind of I will ask it to summarize that issue that you're dealing with and what it would take to partner with Purdue in order to do something like that and send it to you. And if you think it's a good idea, you can reach out to Virginia Vaught at Purdue Engagement and say, hey, do you
Yep,
guys
I
have
know
a
Virginia.
concept? Yeah, I figured you did. She's probably played softball before too, but I mean and that's really high level. I want to go with another one because Oliver mentioned the power of voice. One that we used to use at Phoenix that I think is really powerful, which is, and you need everyone's permissions for this, and you need a paid account so that you're not leaking data, right? But what we would do is in our strategy meetings or our weekly meetings, we would record those, and then we would upload that to Google Notebook LM and keep those files in like a monthly or quarterly file. And then you can go back in natural language and say, hey, what are reoccurring issues that we keep bringing up in our meetings? Or what are some things that we're doing really well? What are some things where we might be miscommunicating with each other? It gives you like this digital strategy partner that
That's
is
very interesting. Yeah.
and you know what? It resonates with everyone because when it's giving feedback from a machine, they don't take it personally, right? It might say, well, Jason always asks this question in different ways and no one really understands what he's talking about. But when it's an AI saying putting out that report, it's very different than my boss coming to me and being like, dude, you need to learn how to communicate better. Like you asked the same, right? So it depersonalizes it and it shows you a lot of different angles of communication styles and where things might be working really well and not working quite as well.
One other thing that comes to mind is when you mentioned you mentioned a pretty extensive amount of personalization for friends, and following that format of a personalized plan or personalized care. And you also mentioned shifting activities to keep that in mind. Um, with a pen and paper basis for keeping all of the information and keeping track of it, I would imagine that it's basically living on a stack of papers or in people's heads. What is that process of creating that personalization? How does that kind of function today? Is that a burdensome process? Is that a lot of time? Is that quick and easy?
Um, so that is not so much pen and paper
Okay.
necessarily. Like we work in Google Drive
Okay.
quite a bit and have templates and things like that. So it's more, I guess, picking and shifting
Hmm.
what happens in the physical activity time slot
Hmm.
is, that personal discovery moment where we're
Hmm.
like, oh, these people, these friends don't like to do
Hmm.
ring toss. They would be more seated yoga.
Hmm.
Um, so it shifts more like that. And then all of those records are
Digital.
digital. Yeah.
Okay.
It's yeah, the charting after that, right?
Hmm.
So who enjoyed participating in it, who didn't like it, I feel like that is more subjective. It would be interesting to take that information and get it into like an AI discovery of, oh, this activity is only lasting 20 minutes instead of 45, like
Hmm.
something to synthesize the results instead of just having the results for results sake.
Yeah, that makes sense. on those pen and paper, another modality that AI does really well now is taking a picture and transcribing a picture. So one thing you could do as kind of like integrating this to kind of extract some of that information and digitize it really quick is just take a picture. And then you can create a set workflow of how it transcribes those forms and where that information goes, and you can have it upload into a spreadsheet. And that can be pretty easy. And then that would probably add 5 seconds to the operational component of recording that. And then you could, with all of those pictures, you could then on some cadence be like transcribe all of these, put in the scrap sheet. And so that's one other modality that could be interesting there. Um, that, that composing of the activities and all of that is effectively trying to find the intersection of where for the people who are coming that day, what's going to um, uh, be the most effective given their preferences, needs, likes, and uh, various considerations. Uh, if that planning process is also something that, even if it takes 30 minutes or something, or something like that, that's probably something that also an AI tool, you'd have to pick the right one, but an AI tool could be able to do for you, because that fundamental problem is very easy for AI to solve. And so whatever the amount of time that's being spent on that component might be able to be reduced to like 60 seconds or less. Um, and it might be able to uh, provide multiple options. So it might be able to generate 3 plans, and then you can review quickly. And that might turn that whole process into a 1 to 5 minute thing. And you could even set it up so it happens automatically based on who's logged in and scheduled. This is where that integrated repository of information becomes very valuable, is because then there's these different forms of analysis and these different tasks that it can do kind of on its own. But you could even set it up to, in the morning, send an email to your program director, who then has 3 options for that day based on the information it has. And then they can just respond back via email to say, I want option B, make these 3 modifications. And then it would be able to grab that and update your information system so that it then gets populated to everyone else. This would be another example of something a little bit more advanced, but that is a capability that's unlocked from having kind of the digital records. Now, because your records are already digital, for a lot of this stuff, you actually could probably do this pretty quick. Again, there's considerations around privacy and all of that. So it's not, you'd have to want to think through those things, and working with Purdue probably is a great thing to do. Um, but that's another potential capacity creating thing that comes to mind. Another thing that came to mind as you were talking, which is uh, not capacity creating. It's not like back office optimization, but you might find interesting. Um, you mentioned that uh, a lot. Apologies. You mentioned that a lot of friends are sharing a lot of their knowledge and past and stories with folks. One thing you could do, of course, with the family and individual consent, is you could set up an AI to be recording um, those stories and everything, and then you could be transcribing those into a uh, not like a newsletter, but into a memoir or book or some sort of record associated with the individual. And then you would be able to share that back with the family. And what comes to mind is like a really interesting activity to be able to um, highlight the incredible value of the extremely high quality of care you're providing and really highlight that back to the families themselves because then they get to see, oh, I didn't know that about um, my family member, your friend. Um, and what you could do on an annual basis is then collate all of these stories into um, a small booklet and send it to the family as a here's the the year that you've had. Here's what we learned and all of that. And with all of your records and activities, you could actually create that booklet with more than just those stories, but create these like here's you know what your here's the time your friend had because you're offering them rest and respite, but part of that inherently is that they don't really know what's going on. They trust you, right? There's no doubt in that. But being able to see it um, and it might be pretty interesting. And you could, offer it at like a at cost or something. There's some, logistical thing to think through on that, or you could get a grant or some donor fundraising to do around that. But this is an example of like a non-back office thing that's less about creating more capacity and more about enhancing the quality and enhancing the offering. That came to mind as I was listening.
Yeah, let me ask this, Bess, because Julie Kohler, who's Lafayette's hometown station Q1067 DJ, she and I have a podcast together as well where we talk about AI for lay people, and she's always reminding me, like as I go through a thousand things that I'm doing with AI, she's like, "Okay, now my head's exploding, and I have no idea where to start." Like, where are you personally with your AI use?
So we do a lot of sort of public facing storytelling.
Okay.
So, grant writing, newsletter, all of the Facebook posts, press releases. I mean, you name it. So I would say that's probably where we use AI most consistently,
And is that
is
mostly
to
Google in your business account? Are you using Google or are you using ChatGPT or using Claude? Like, where are you leaning into that
chat
business account?
GPT.
ChatGPT, okay. And you all have a paid like account for ChatGPT or you're using the free version of ChatGPT?
We use the free version,
Oh,
which also means that I'm not putting personal information or
right.
any, identifiers in. So it's more, we have a great writing team. It's more like, I don't like the way that paragraph ends, or you know what, I need to finish this up and I've got the first four great sentences for whatever the Facebook post is, pop it into Chat GPT, finish the post, and then it
Mhm.
So my
does that. So that's
suggestion,
how we're using it.
first step, yeah, I'm guessing you have a Google business account because if you're using a Google Drive, then you must have a paid Google account, correct?
Yeah,
Which gives you access.
nonprofits have their own accounts. They don't have to, it's free.
So you have access to Gemini there. And in Gemini, you can build projects. They're called gems, right? For everything that we just talked about, you can actually go into Gemini and say, here's what I would like to do. Interview me until you understand what it is I'm trying to accomplish with AI, and then help me build a gem, GEM, to accomplish that. And then once you get comfortable with working inside those projects, you can say, now I would like to automate some of this. So interview me until you understand what part of my process I want to automate, and then help me understand how to use Google agentic workflows in order to do that. Like AI can actually teach you, and then NotebookLM, which I mentioned, is in your account, so you have access to NotebookLM as well. It's if in the little drop down where docs and sheets and all that is, and
Okay.
so NotebookLM you can put up to like the Lord of the Rings size documents inside of there. The whole trilogy would fit in one file. And then you can say, generate training videos out of this, or generate a podcast out of this, or generate a flow chart out of this. Like Notebook LM is one of the most phenomenal starting points for someone who's not really leaned into AI yet. And then I would definitely lean into Gemini since you have that nonprofit account, because now you're talking about it protecting and holding on to your information, and it's going to have higher functionality than a free Chat GPT account anyway.
You you also Gemini is one of the few AI tools that you can get a BAA with. So you can have a BAA with Google, um, where they promise to treat all information going through the systems in a HIPAA compliant way, which then means that your AI tool is HIPAA compliant. And so you are then not having to worry about that as you're operating. And I believe Gemini currently, Microsoft maybe as well, but Gemini and Google currently is the only what's known as a frontier lab, one of the leading AI companies, which provides that function, that capability.
Yeah.
And I just looked, they really are in that little scroll
Yes.
down. I didn't know that.
Yes, you used to have to like look it up in order to get to it, and then it was connected to your account, and they finally added it to that little scroll down. So NotebookLM is easily accessible, as is
Yeah,
Gemini.
cool. I will start exploring that for sure.
Well, you're gonna have to come back on the show in like a few months and tell us how that's gone.
Yes, I will. I have been known to be the star pupil, so have me back in a couple months and we'll see what I've been able to figure out.
Consider yourself challenged, and I will take this transcript and whip you up a little something that you might be able to share with Purdue, if you decide to. If you don't, no hard feelings. But I do think they're an amazing resource. Even when I was at Phoenix, I also used a different Claude to create an internal policies and procedures around AI document. And then I sent that to Purdue, and they didn't charge us anything. They reviewed it. Their security team reviewed it and gave us the feedback. And now we had an internal document on how to use AI that a major university had vetted. So yeah,
Nice.
I can't get over how great of a resource they are to have in your backyard, and it's amazing the work that you guys are doing. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You got any last words, Oliver?
Best, it's been great to chat and really appreciate the great work you're doing. And thank you for bringing us into your world for a little bit.
Yeah, thanks. There's some great tidbits along the way here, gentlemen. I appreciate it. And again, come out and support us Sunday, August 23rd at Loeb Stadium for the Joyful Journey Classic. If you need any more information on that, you can go to jjclassic.org. You can also find Joyful Journey's website, Joyful Journey WL for westlafayette.org. Facebook has all of our updates, events, and that is Joyful Journey WL.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.